YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here. Happy to be back in Rome 2 with some more online action, of course. Rome 2 is just my favorite place for online action. Now, don't get me wrong, I certainly enjoy some on Medieval 2, Napoleon, Shogun 2, even Attila I enjoy to a certain extent, as long as the rules make it sane or people aren't being purposely try-hard spammy. But, and I guess the same goes for any of those games, to be honest. This was another large, well, it was even bigger than Ultra Funds. I think this is a 19,000 denarii battle. I can't remember. Pretty sure it is. It's against the same opponent that I played, who was the Swaby last night. This time he takes Carthage. I took Cimmeria. When it comes to a Carthage-Cimmeria matchup, Cimmeria can definitely take control of the skirmishing engagement. Cimmeria really doesn't have sword infantry, so to speak, so it's going to be a spear faction. And then cavalry-wise, it's very limited options for Cimmeria. Citizen Cav is the only mid-tier melee Cav option, and then of course you have cheap Lancers in the form of Sarmatian Lancers. Infantry-wise, you pretty much get Scythian Hoplites, or Cimmerian Noble Infantry. Now, Cimmerian Noble Infantry is extremely good at their price range. However, this is a huge, bigger than Ultra Funds battle. So the Cimmerian Nobles, it could potentially be outshined by other units just due to the fact that you can afford more expensive units. But a couple upgrades, these guys can still be solid. 45 attack with a couple of chevrons, which is what I did. So my main line is Cimmerian Noble Infantry. I think I have either 6 or 8 of them. I've got 4 Noble Horse Archers. Noble Horse Archers have a better melee attack than Citizen Cav by a long shot, and they have the benefit of having 40 damage missiles. Their downside is that they are heavy missile cavalry, which means they are rather slow and they can get exhausted easily. Also, they do not fight with a spear in prolonged melee combat. They fight with a sword, which will be better versus infantry, but less effective versus cavalry. So I'm supporting each one of these units with the Citizen Cav that's basically a sacrificial unit to keep enemy Cav away from my Horse Archers while they cause damage with their missiles. I have to send the Citizen Cav to support, because otherwise it's quite possible that units could catch my Noble Horse Archers. I have 2 Scythian Hoplites, 1 on each flank, and then I'm rocking 4 Cimmerian Heavy Archers. Over here, the Carthaginian player has a Noble Cav on each flank and a Mercenary Campanian Cav. I kind of question the Mercenary Campanian Cav versus an all-spear faction. Technically, these guys could be used to mop up Cimmerian Heavy Archers, but I think it's overkill. You can mop up Cimmerian Heavy Archers with a decent charge, even from a medium melee Cav. Now, if the Cimmerian Archers don't get charged properly, they do have the two-handed spear, and they can be quite good. But, I mean, yes, these guys can certainly hit Cimmerian Heavy Archers, but again, just think it's a little bit overkill, even at this funds level. This would have been a better unit to pick against a sword faction, I believe. And then he's got 2 Carthaginian Cav. The problem for Carthage at this funds level is that you really don't get a better cavalry unit with the more expensive cavalry units. So really, as Carthage, I would have focused my money on really good infantry and just kind of gone ahead and brought the mid-tier melee Cav. And he has a lot of skirmishers here too. There's, let's see, looks like 2 mercenary Balearic Slingers and 2 mercenary Cretan Archers. So he's got very good skirmishers, better than, well, I mean, he can match me at the moment. I say that, the Cimmerian Heavies could win that fight, but I'm not going to sit around and trade with them. This time, I'm actually going to spread out and go on the offensive. I want the charge. I feel like my Cimmerian Noble Infantry have a better charge than anything he has, except for Mercenary Noble Fighters, which he does have 2 of them, kind of waiting in the, or no, he has 1 waiting in the wings in the back. I would have liked to have seen more of these from Carthage, but anyway, check this out. So he gets right through my lines, and he's going to hit this Cimmerian Heavy Archer, so good job. I just let my Cimmerian Heavy Archers take the charge, use their spears to try and fend that off. I'm using my Citizen Cav and Scythian Hoplites to disrupt him on the flank. And then here, he's going to once again try and sneak through the gaps in my line. And he's going to almost get away with it here, though. Yeah, he's going to try and peel around and go through here. So my opponent's being smart, taking advantage of the gaps. These Mercenary Noble Fighters, so he does have one on each flank. They would have done very well, but you'll notice that my Cimmerian Heavy Archers are immediately focus firing on his Mercenary Noble Fighters where possible. And he is going to get to my Cimmerian Heavies. Again, very nice choice. These guys need to get off the battlefield if Carthage wants to win. But he's being extremely aggressive with this cavalry. This is allowing my infantry, time to fight, and they're doing very well because, well, I say that the Sacred Band are not bad units, but they don't have the elite spear. In some ways, their stats are better than the Cimmerian Noble Infantry, like armor, for instance. Yeah, basically just armor. But otherwise, the Cimmerian Noble Infantry are going to hang quite well with Sacred Band, just stats-wise, but they do have more armor penetration, but the Sacred Band have more armor. So it's an interesting matchup. You're not going to see it very often. Also, he got into Hoplite Phalanx, and I failed to get into Hoplite Phalanx until just now. So his guys were probably winning that engagement for a short time. So his Mercenary Companions, again, easily mopping up my Cimmerian Heavies, and they're going to continue to help do that. I am losing Cimmerian Heavy Infantry, or Heavy Archers, but the infantry fight is definitely favoring me. I've already got a break over here, and I'm going to be able to start wrapping up this flank. And my guys are holding their own. Now here, though, a nice charge from the Noble Cavalry of Carthage. He's going to get a good hit on this Cimmerian Noble Infantry. And if that Sacred Band breaks loose, it definitely could be trouble for me. But my Noble Infantry withstands the charge, and his Noble Cavalry is going to start to fall. He's completely forgotten about a Mercenary Companion Cav out here. I noticed that and was hoping he would not. It's at this point when I realized this flank's broken. I'm going to start pushing it with infantry. I'm also going to push it with cavalry to try and get it as skirmishers. He has gotten my heavy archers for the most part, but he has paid a dear, dear price. He's lost this Mercenary Companion Cav, and he's losing this Noble Cavalry as well. And those are two very expensive units that easily add up to the cost of my archers. So he got them, but he paid for it. And that's fine with me, because now without his cavalry, my heavy horse archers can just completely run amok back here in his back lines. And over here, I would allow other units to absorb the charge and then send in my heavy horse archers in melee, so that they could use their good melee attack without being charged by a spear-armed cavalry. So again, we're going to see here that the heavy horse archers can come in handy. I really don't want to fight his general head-on, but I'm going to have to. It's a fight my horse archers will win. It's just going to be a little bit Pyrrhic for him because the bodyguard has a spear. Here, this mercenary Samnite warrior is going to get crunched between two Cimmerian Noble Infantry, and it's not going to like that at all. You can see that my Cimmerian Noble Infantry wrapping around some of his infantry units. That's going to help them start to turn these fights around. So where I was failing at first for not being in Hoplite Wall, now that I'm in Hoplite Wall and I'm surrounding his men, my guys are starting to level out this fight a little bit, and they managed to last longer. So it was very shaky for me for a few moments. I darn near lost this fight here, and if I did, it would have been quite bad because that infantry could have punched through, but my guys clutched it out for me here. And again here, you're going to see the citizen cavalry that was left over being put to good use against light targets like these Cretan archers, while my heavier horse archer cav mops up some of the trickier opponents. Now, I do have other horse archer cavalry working its way around right here, so it ended up transferring flanks. The Carthaginian general is about to die, though he did inflict some pretty good casualties on my horse archers. I'm going to continue to get rid of the enemy skirmishers, and then I'm going to probably just pull on past this fight. I need to get into the back of some of the Carthaginian infantry. Some of my archers survived, and you can see that they're getting pretty clean flank shots into this mercenary noble fighter. So the whole time for my archers, I was less concerned about his archers and more concerned about his best infantry units. These Sacred Band are good infantry units, but their major downfall is the fact that they only have the 29 damage spear, which also comes with less armor piercing. Otherwise, the Sacred Band hoplites would be a pretty good unit. So that's why Sacred Band hoplites are actually kind of a poor choice even at the high funds level, because they just don't have that extra melee power in the form of armor piercing. Here comes the heavy horse archers. They're going to wreck on this this mercenary noble fighter. Mercenary noble fighters don't particularly like being charged by heavy cavalry, and you can see how quickly they mop that up. The mercenary noble fighters were about to take out my Cimmerians, so that was good timing for me. I'm going to slam these heavy archers into the back of the Sacred Band. It will take quite a lot to break these Sacred Band, just because of their high armor and good base morale and health. But if I leave my guys in the fight for a moment, between the horse archers and my Cimmerian nobles in the front, they will get the job done. But again, you can see the toughness of these Carthaginian Sacred Band when it comes to their defensive capabilities. It's their offensive capability that I question. Their charge bonus isn't bad for a hoplite, but I really feel like if this unit had an elite spear, it would be a lot better. I actually think in Blade Master's balancing mod, they probably get the elite spear, which would certainly make them a lot more viable. Carthaginian Noble Cavalry is also a unit that has just been worthless in this game almost consistently from day one. And definitely I would hope that Blade Master addressed that in the balancing too. I think for the price you pay for a Carthaginian Noble Cav, you ought to at least be able to get performance out of it comparable to a Thessalian, which costs considerably less. So that's the thing I've never understood, is like why the Carthaginian Noble Cav costs so much and delivers so little. So it's not a good choice in my mind in any scenario, just because it doesn't deliver good value. You can occasionally use one to good effect, but they're just so expensive, and your likelihood of getting any good performance out of them is quite low. So anyway, I think my opponent's army here, I think is definitely good. He brought the Mercenary Noble Fighters. The trick for Carthage is that when it comes to a high funds game, that's where Carthage actually, in my opinion, starts to struggle, because their elite tier units are either non-existent, limited because they're mercenaries, or they're just not that good compared to those of other factions. So Carthage to me is definitely better in a smaller funds up to maybe a large funds battle. When it starts to get to ultra funds, I'm not as big a fan of Carthage unless you think you can find a way to make elephants work. Which against Cimmeria that's a dicey proposition, because they have such good archers and horse archers. Taking out spears with elephants is certainly not beyond possibility, but you would have to own that skirmish fight. And you can. It's just difficult because Carthage does not have the best answers to, say, like horse archers, for instance. They have some tools, but let's take a look at this. So, in an extreme funds battle, like this one, so let's again go over here to the settings. I'm pretty sure, cancel. Pretty sure that the funds were 19,000. And let's take a look at a Carthaginian army. So, I mean, I would probably go ahead and bring the Noble Cav General, just because it's better than a bodyguard and you have the money to do so. But again, what are you going to do about infantry? Honestly, I'd probably just... The bad thing about upgrading Libyans is you're going to get decent attack out of them, but you can't improve their base morale or health. And that's where, like, elite tier swords are going to be better. So see here, 65 health on both these swords units. No matter how much you upgrade the Libyans, it's not going to impact that. So, I mean, maybe you could bring some upgraded Sam Knights too, but I mean, it's going to take a few chevrons to make these Sam Knights, I mean, even get to the same level as the Libyans, which cost a lot of money when it comes to attack. So that's part of the reason why you're going to be limited in what you can do. Again, Sacred Band, if these guys had the Elite Spear, this would be a very solid hoplite unit for the price. But without that Elite Spear, you get 8 armor piercing damage with the Elite Spear, you only get 5 with this one. May not seem like a lot, but just consider every hit, that's 3 more damage to the enemy unit's health that's unblockable, basically. So, to me, that's one of the reasons why Carthage struggles. If these guys had an Elite Spear, Carthage would be much better in a large fun, in an extreme funds battle, kind of like this, where it's bigger than ultra funds. But, again, Carthage's main killing tool is elephants, which are more easily countered in the huge funds because you can afford elite tier skirmishers. So I think Carthage is going to struggle there. And again, when you look at elite tier cavalry, Noble Cav aren't very good. You're going to get crushed by other factions' elite tier cav. Campanian Cav, yes, they're good at certain things, but they're terrible versus cavalry. And since you're not going to have any elite tier cavalry to win the day, you're going to really struggle getting your Campanians in. And then the sad thing is that if you have to take support units on the flank for your crappy cavalry, then you're spending even more money on cheap units, while your opponent is spending all of their money on excellent units. So again, I think that's where Carthage is going to struggle in the elite tier. Now, these Numidian Noble Cav, I think, could be pretty good at the elite tier because of their high melee attack and their damaging javelins, but again, maybe stack these guys up against those Noble Horse Archers. It'd be interesting to see who wins that in melee. I kind of think that the Numidians would, and they should be able to catch them technically because they're medium. How much damage would they take in the process? I don't know. And then the Horse Archers, like 7-something, these guys are 1180. So just an interesting situation. Carthage, definitely not the faction I would pick for the high funds battle. I guess if I just had to do something, I would obviously bring the 2 Noble Fighters. I think I would probably just go ahead and rely on a backbone of Libyan infantry that were upgraded. And the reason I do that is just because these guys have shield wall. Yes, their health is lower than the Sam Knights, but their attack is higher and they have shield wall. I'd probably bring these guys, drop some chevrons. The sad thing is that even with all these upgrades into this price, it basically just makes them the same as a Roman legionary, but with a little less armor. And shield wall, of course. From a cavalry standpoint, this is where it gets tricky. Again, you really don't have an elite tier cavalry. So I would once again probably just reach into the and see, that's the problem. You get into these high funds battles. Would you rather bring the cavalry and have it upgraded and still get stomped by the others? I mean, this is where it's just, for me, it just gets very dicey for Carthage. This is definitely a tricky bit. I think I would just probably leave the skirmishers out and see if you could go all rush. Maybe bring a few of these. Just use your cavalry to tie down enemy units. And then if there's no rules, like it was the case in this battle, I'd probably try and bring like multiple elephant units like this, to where they have to focus on elephant units on 2 flanks, and at least you can get 1 elephant in somewhere where it's going to make a difference. So I don't know, that's probably the way I would take it. Just do something like this. You have as sturdy as you can be in the melee corps, as sturdy as you can be in the cavalry corps, and then just, you've got to crash the elephants in somewhere and get something. You're going to have to suicide some units in this army too to tie down any enemy skirmishers, and just hope to goodness that one of your elephant units can get the damage done in time. If you could kill a couple of enemy, high tier units, might work. I don't know, tell me what you think. What would you do with Carthage in a funds level this high? Don't know if my answer is the best. So, HeirofCarthage signing off for now.